But a lot of what's going on is a lot of you are thinking in the minute term, the finite term, the present moment of what's going on, the feeling. And nobody's really added enough meaning to it to take it out into the future. Okay, take it all the way out into the future to the point where you realize that every little move that you make, every fucking move that you make and think has a definitive place in your reality and in your future. Okay? I'm going to do a little exercise right here. Think of a belief that had bothered you. Okay? And just raise your hand. It could be I'm not good enough. I'm afraid to approach this girl. Whatever it is. Just something that it can make a big imprint upon. When I go through this whole structure with you, you guys are really going to realize that every little belief, every little thought that you have has an outcome in your future that is going to be powerfully, profoundly affected by everything that you think about up until that point in time. And it's going to have an imprint on, quote, your life. Okay? So does anyone have just a little belief that doesn't really work for them? Or that's kind of bothering you? Yeah? Let me hear them real quick so I can make sure that they are beliefs and they're not something else.
I'm a lucky writer.
Okay. Okay.
I really don't want to say mine out loud.
Okay, that's fine. But you know it is a belief. Okay.
I had a belief that, this whole thing about the ratio, there are more guys here. And I was like, why do I place into a situation where somebody has more value than me? And why would I even approach a girl? Because she's going to think that, hey, there's so many guys here and this guy is one more of them. So that really bothered me for a week.
Okay. So your belief is that there's too many guys?
Yeah, well, I heard from 10 people. And I was like,
Well, you hypnosis, we could just change that and flip you to the other side. And then you wouldn't need this at all. You'd be stoked. Just close your eyes. Relax. It'll all be over in a second. Okay, that's a cool belief. Anyone else? Feels like they want to share it? Okay. Well, then we'll go from there. What I want you to do is I want you to sit back a little bit. Just kind of relax yourself. And if you could put a little KY around your mouth, we'll be right there for you, okay? It may seem a little bit longer for you. Okay. So what I want you to do is just close your eyes, and I want you to think about this belief. Keep your eyes open if that's a better way for you to visualize. Okay? Now as you're sitting there and you're thinking about that belief, I just want you to notice how it has affected your life up until this point in time. Just notice some of the things you haven't done. Notice some of the opportunities that you haven't acted on. Just notice some of the behaviors that you wouldn't have done. And really begin to feel, how does that make you feel? Is it a good energy? Is it a heavy energy? Is it a bad energy? Do you feel stuck? Now what I want you to do is I want you to take that belief and I want you to imagine moving 6 months in the future. 6 months of carrying with you this limitation. 6 months of taking with you all the bullshit that goes with this, all the indecision, all the lack of behaviors, all the lack of movement, all the excuses. Now notice as you go through this, 6 months from now, 6 months of not doing the things you wanted to do, 6 months of believing this is who you are, 6 months of carrying with you this extra weight. Notice, how does it feel 6 months in the future? 6 months in the future having carried all this with you. And if you were to look into a mirror, do you look more alive? Do you look less alive? Do you look more happy? Just get a good look at yourself and notice the energy that comes with that 6 months of having that limiting behavior, that limiting belief. Now I want you to imagine moving a year in the future, a year of having taken this belief with you so that it's controlling and regulating your reality. 1 year of taking with you all the baggage, the burden, all the opportunities that you've lost because you haven't been able to see. Taking with you the energy. Taking with you all the disappointments. Taking with you yourself beating yourself up a year from now. What do other people say when you start talking about your dreams, but you had this? Look in the mirror now. You look better? Do you look more alive? Less alive? Now what I want you to do is I want you to imagine 5 years into the future. 5 years of taking with you the lost opportunities. 5 years of taking with you all the self-doubt. 5 years of taking with you the energy, that energy. 5 years of the excuses. 5 years of not doing the things you need to do. 5 years of being trapped in that small world. Really feel how that feels. Are you proud of yourself? Do you feel good about yourself? Notice where in your body you feel the energy. And I want you to imagine looking in the mirror now, 5 years of having all these burdens. Look at yourself in the mirror. Do you look more happy? You look more alive? What are people saying about you now? What do you say about yourself now? Now I want you to move 20 years into the future. 20 years of this is who you are. These are the beliefs that you've had. 20 years of dragging with you, disappointments, doubt, disbelief, excuses. 20 years of bringing with you, dragging with you the energy of not doing what you want to do. 20 years of believing the bullshit. 20 years. And really feel how that feels. Look in the mirror now. Who are you? And look back through all those 20 years on that little decision, that little belief that was made way back when. And notice the consequence of what that feels like in time, in your future. And realize that this belief, this little teeny belief, this little one thought carries this burden with it. Every decision. Look in the mirror. Do you look more alive or less alive? And really feel that. What do others say to you? What excuses do you now have? And then I want you to go right up into that point, right before we have that crossover, whatever you want to call it, death or whatever, and realize as you look back, that was your life. And how that belief, that little teeny belief, how much energy it sucked from you, how much life that it took from you. And look at that mirror right before you cross over and notice the toll that it's taken on you. Feel that energy. Does the energy feel dead or alive? Now what I want you to do is I want you just to really realize and notice that that little belief, okay, coupled with any other little belief that hasn't worked positively for you, has this effect. And really understand that that future all begins with something that doesn't work for you, a lack of movement, a lack of behavior, lack of belief in yourself. Notice how that affects you. Really feel that. Like a snowball through the years, getting bigger, stronger, deeper, heavier. You feel like you can move? And now what I want you to do is I want you to just go back in time, all the way back in time, all the way till you come to this time and place here. And just realize that that belief that you had has an effect in the bigger picture. So only when you're ready to really understand that each motion, each belief that you have, each behavior has a bigger goal, has an overall effect on your life. And realize that when you come back to now, you can be happy to realize that that hasn't yet happened. And you have that choice to make the changes that you need to make. So only come back and open your eyes only as fast as you realize that that is a false future. It is a future you can choose. Or is it a future that you can choose to get rid of? So only as fast as you're ready, come back, open your eyes, and just thank yourself that you're not there in the future. You're here now, having able to make those choices that you still need to make, okay? Take as much time as you need within the next 30 seconds. If you cross the thing and you're dead, all right, just try to come back. Okay, what they call in NLP or anything like this, kind of a Scrooge pattern. It's taking what a belief can do and move it out into the future. It's very simple in terms of structure and in terms of how it works. But I'm very curious to notice like what you guys experienced, and it's kind of profound to notice that one little belief, one, okay, not a whole bunch of them, one, can affect you that profoundly over time. Okay, and imagine that if you have a bunch of these little fucking negative ones. Okay, that's a lot of energy. Okay, we're talking like base material energy that's going to affect your life. That's a lot of resource. That's a lot of fuel. And if you have all these, and over the period of 20 years or whatever it is, I mean, imagine the things that you're not doing. Okay, this is going to open up the complete spectrum of where you're at. So that is called pretty much the Scrooge pattern. So I'm curious to see like what you guys saw, felt, experienced with just like a simple belief. I'm just curious on how it affected you. Everyone's going to be affected differently. And here's something I want to say too is every exercise will not work for everybody. So, you know, some may work for you, some may not work for you. You know, we're going to go through a bunch of them, but I just want you to be aware of these are things you can do yourself, you can do with someone else, you can be aware of them, and they all don't have to work for you, okay? We just want to open up the doorway a little bit, pop a seed in there. We're going to be doing other things as well, so, you know, if one's not working, don't worry about it. You know, there's 100 more that can come from this. So just start from scratch and we'll go from there.
So you want to talk about how I felt when you did the thing?
I'm just curious on how that little belief that kind of affected you, or that wasn't as useful as it should have been, how that affected you overall through time.
Oh, in the visualization?
Yeah.
Well, I was poor, and I got old. Yeah.
So at 6 months, what did you feel?
Well, that was the interesting thing, is I remember when I was a kid, somebody that I knew my age died, someone who was close to me. And I thought I should feel really bad, but I didn't feel anything. And that's actually how this visualization felt. It felt like I should feel a lot worse, but I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel anything. And I don't know, when the person died, it took me a while to understand that that's actually what I felt when people died.
Okay.
So, in that sense, yeah.
And then in a year?
It was that same feeling of nothingness, just bigger and bigger with everyone.
And then
6
5
months, a
years,
year,
all
10
the way-
years. Yeah.
So it's a-
numb.
numb.
Yeah.
And how did that numb affect you as far as energetically?
It was a downer.
Okay. And as far as when you looked at yourself in the mirror, was the spark of life there?
No, it was definitely a downer. It was like a withered. If you look at when you give a girl flowers sometimes, and you see the flower like a week later, and it's like dying and old, and yeah, it felt pretty bad in that sense visually.
Okay. It's pretty impressive on how one little thing, that little tiny fucking grain of salt, sand, vision, whatever it is, can get into something so big.